And I didn't think I was doing anything bad. I thought that I was doing all right, but I was so nervous that I was like, I don't know, maybe I'm doing something terrible. So I get out of the car and I let her drive, and she takes me home. And she gets home, and we walk into the house, and I'm feeling just like a terrible son because my mom couldn't teach me how to drive, and I'm a man, I'm supposed to know how to drive, And she walks in, my dad's sitting there and says, "How'd it go?" And my mom throws the keys down, she shakes her head, and she just said, "That son of yours." And that's all that she says. And I'm like, what did I do? I thought that I was just trying to learn how to drive. And my dad picks up the keys and he goes, "Come on, Kyle. Let's go. I'm going to teach you how to drive." And I'm like, no. I don't want to get into this again. This is the most stressful afternoon of my life. And my dad said, "No, come on. I'm going to teach you how to drive." So he gets in his car and he said, "I heard of this place out of town that people take their kids to learn how to drive." And I said, "I don't know if necessarily if I want to go there again." And he drove me out into this dead man's road. And he said, "All right, I'm going to teach you how to drive." So he pulls over to the side of the road. And he lets me get in the driver's side, and he teaches me what all of the little buttons and all of the little things on the car are for, how to adjust everything. And he says, "You got it?" And I said, "I think so." And he reclines his seat way back, and he puts his feet up on the dash, and he says, "All right, drive for a little while. I'm going to take a nap." And I'm just like, I almost killed my mom 10 minutes ago. How are you, how are you just so cool? And he just pulls his hat down, and he's just like, "Drive for a little while." So I'm driving around, I'm going, 5 miles an hour, and I'm freaking out. I'm checking my mirrors every few seconds, and there's nobody around, And my dad finally kind of pulls his hat up and goes, "How fast do you go?" And I said, "I don't know, 5, 10 miles an hour." He said, "Kick it up to 30. And I'm like, "You don't understand, Dad. I don't know how to drive." And he's like, "You're doing fine." So I slowly kind of creep up there, and I drive around for a while, and pretty soon I hear him snoring. And I'm driving, and all of a sudden I get to the point where I'm like, this isn't so hard. There's no cars around. I can understand how to steer this. And after a few hours probably of driving around, maybe it was less than that, it seemed like quite a while, he kind of sits up, and he tells me to pull over, and he said, "So how was it?" And I was like, "Well, I thought that I did all right." He said, "Well, the car looks fine, so I guess you did all right." And my dad got to focus me off of trying to murder everybody in my car to trying to just operate this machine. And I was able to get comfortable. And I was able to drive. I was able to learn how to drive. A few weeks later, we went back out there, and I asked my dad to go out there with me again, not my mom, and we're driving on the road, and I'm going pretty slow. I'm going maybe 10 or 15 miles an hour. And we're just looking around and we're talking. And off to the side of this road, we see these deer laying down. We see their ears poking up. My dad and I are big hunters. We get really excited. It was in the early spring, so there weren't any antlers, but we wanted to check out these deer. So we're driving really slow. I slow down a little bit, and we're looking and trying to see how great, or how many deer there were, and what these deer looked like, because it was open land. Maybe we could go hunt someday. And I'm looking, and he's looking, and we're trying to see if we can see, if we can count the ears. Before long, all of a sudden I hear this, and I look up, and I'm driving off the road, and I'm running over the sagebrush. I'm only going 5 or 10 miles an hour, but I'm running over the sagebrush. And I think that, again, it's maybe a silly example, but our focus is so important in life. Our focus in church is so important. Our focus in our own lives is so important. After I was finally able to focus on driving, I learned how to drive. But then the second I took my focus off of driving, when I didn't know what I was doing, then I was not driving the way that I needed to be driving. And I think here in the church, maybe that's a silly example, but we can maybe find some application there. Our focus is what's the most important thing. We can have the greatest programs in the world. We can have the greatest sound system in the world. We have the greatest, the happiest, friendliest church in the world, and you guys come close from what I've experienced so far. But if we're not focused on Jesus, then what are we doing here? What would Jesus do? How would Jesus react if he were here at Caney Nazarene Church? I hope he wouldn't react the way that he reacted here in John 2. I pray that he wouldn't react. But I think that's a question we need to stop and we need to ask ourselves. How can we as a church get our focus on Christ, and can we keep our focus on Christ? I talked about how when I preach here, I like to tie the Old Testament and the New Testament to my sermons. And in the New Testament reading that I asked to be read, it talks about how our body is a temple. See, when Christ came and he died on the cross for our sins, the Old Testament sacrificial system was abolished. Jesus Christ was our sacrificial lamb. And so now we have this incredible opportunity to worship God at any time, in any place. We have this incredible opportunity to love him, to talk to him anytime and at any place. Our body is now a temple. In a sense, God is with us. He is in us. And that leads me to my second and my final question. It's a simple question, but it's a tough one.